Hello, everybody. I have a small little audience here. So the small little audience here, right over here, you can't see her, but it is, oh, let's see, now I had to shut off the microphone. My youngest daughter is here visiting. So that would explain a little bit of why I've been, just a portion of it, why I've been absent. And Malia and I have been occupied just trying to spend some time with her since it's been a while since she's been down here. Let me try to move this camera over a little bit here, get a little bit better view. So good to see everybody. Hi, Scrub. Good to see the Scrub. We met Scrub, myself and Malia met Scrub when we were in Pensacola together. It was terrific. So it's nice to meet all of the subscribers and followers when we get a chance to. And just so you know, is that we are making final arrangements for an event here in the Phoenix area where we will arrange for everybody to come, and that wants to come, we'll arrange for the hotel and the conference room and everything. So that is coming up. So look for notifications of that. That will most likely be when it gets a little bit cooler. We want to make sure that you all can actually enjoy your time here. And currently right now it's 113 degrees in the area. So it's not necessarily enjoyable unless you are in the air conditioning. You see, I'm not wearing black today. So a little bit of cooler color, and my daughter's over here applauding. And if Malia so chooses, she may choose to jump into the show if she hears something that she wants to comment on. So I wanted to touch base on a few things before we get into it, before we get into the details. I wanted to give some updates. First of all, wanted to let you know that the USB drives are going out, and I've been handwriting. I don't want to show somebody's address here, but I've been handwriting them, each one, and adding a little message for, there you go, for everybody on each packet. You'll see I have lots of envelopes going, so that's been a bit of a task. Also, I wanted to give an update in a bit here on Mama B, but first I'll say hello to some folks. JT, WV Watcher, Tim Panko, Semier S, JT, I believe, good to see you. James Urquizo. James, it's been a while since you've been back here, hasn't it? Victoria Cunningham, Mama Chaos, Live Free, Freedom Grower, Eric Martinez, Dory Grace, Michael's Crafts, or Jaden Foley, JT, I think I already said hello to you. Jason Grant, Gemma Church, Tara Gray, I Am Who I Am, Celestial Piper, Tara Gaia, Solzaya Jules, Angie Warren, Stephen Clark, Celestial Piper, Peggy Gruselli, Divine Renegade, good to see you, Divine Renegade, Shane Hamilton, Raquel, Girl with No Name Spooner, good to see you. Shane Hamilton, I think I already said. We Are Source 777, Deb Dubois, Maurice Moore, Diane McClellan, Valerie Maddox. Wow, a lot of new names as well. Donna Keys, that's not a new name though. So it's amazing that I can actually remember the names with so many people that join. So I wanted to give an update on Mama B so everybody knows, and I've received a huge amount of emails and requests that they wanted to know how they could help Mama B. So she is, if you don't know, she had my mother. She had a major stroke. Thankfully, it was in a part of the brain that didn't create any paralysis or anything, but it did create kind of a blockage to portions of the brain that have memories and things. Thankfully, most of those memories that she doesn't remember are bad ones. But she knows who people are, but necessarily can't always verbalize their name yet until she's reminded, and then that memory will be short-lived. So there is a rewiring of the brain that goes on. Now she is been taken care of. Good to see Best Damn Podcast here. Tracy Invernizzi, Sarah C, Damien, good to see you all. She is in a rehabilitation center, a terrific center in Prescott. The people have just been amazing. But she is making progress, but she is going to be removed from there. They will end up releasing her from that center. And currently, everything for her has been handled by Medicare, but that will change when she leaves. They won't be covering any additional costs. So those people that wanted to support her, I've created a link for any added expenses that goes to her. It says Care for Mama B, and you can help out there. So for the people that she has been, and any of you that have spoken to her, and she has spent a huge amount of time communicating with many of you, that people that have reached out, you that have reached out to her, she either writes incredibly beautiful, lengthy emails, or we'll spend hours and hours on the phone with you, counseling you, speaking to you, talking you through very difficult times. And so, like I said, she is doing very, very well. And I see, oh, look at that. Malia Allen is here. She's right behind this wall. So maybe I can say something that's controversial enough I can bring her over here. She'll be keyed into getting up and coming in here and joining us and gracing us with her presence. So yes, you can support Mama B there. And I really, obviously she appreciates it. And on her Facebook, the amount of messages that she's received and the amount of well wishes and prayers and thoughts and positive energy going to her has been just tremendous. So I, myself and my family, we cannot thank you enough. And, like I said, the support that she's going to be required, that's going to be required for her in her new place. She does have a vision problem, so she can't see a portion of things. So things will have to be rearranged. Her living quarters will have to be redone to a certain extent. And she may require, she may require to have somebody that cares for her on a daily basis, because obviously the family can't always be with her. And so we're going to probably end up having to find somebody that can provide nursing for her for a certain period of time until she can actually get refamiliarized with everything around her. So with that said, I wanted to get to the things that, one of the conversations that Malia and I are having, and we continuously have is, first of all, we're always talking about scripture. We're always talking about the condition of the world. We're continuously talking about the things that are revealed to us or have been revealed to us and that are now just coming to pass. And it's remarkable because I believe that there is a high degree of psychosis that is taking place amongst the larger masses of people, that you have to think about it. If you didn't know, it's kind of like when I've said in the past that if you were born into a prison, how would you actually know that you were in prison if you were born into it? And so being the world that we live in, obviously this is a prison, but to the degree that you're told how to think, how to believe, what to support, what to do, you're told these things. And we go with the masses. So by and large, the masses are easily controlled and were in the past through mainstream media, through the basic news channels. And today it is being controlled. It's controlled opposition to actually who you truly are. The controlled opposition becomes the narrative of everybody that is on social media. And the psychosis that people have, it's remarkable to me that, and I wanted to just let everybody know that that for those that have accused me of being some guy I've never even heard of, actually, of 107, don't know who that is, but apparently people believe that he's JFK Jr. And speaking to people on YouTube as some, I don't know, with some pseudonym. No, I'm not 107, but I'm going to get him on the show just to demonstrate that I'm not the dude. But people seem to think that I sound just like him, and I can't hear it. I can't see it, but and neither can anybody else that I've played it for. So the psychosis that I speak of is the psychosis of the people that can link somebody else to me without any evidence, but yet it becomes truth and fact to them. And so this becomes a symptom of a larger degree of a sickness that people have. So in some degree, and this is why this is kind of a warning to all of you that have, once you've discovered a true conspiracy, once you've discovered something that is truly a lie that the world believes the lie, then you are more apt to believe something else that's crazy. In fact, sometimes it seems to become an addiction that people need to find the conspiracy and everything. Yes, there is always a link to the enemy. The enemy is involved in everything, and so is the Father. So the point being is that you have to be very careful at how the energies and the things that you see end up impacting you personally. It's critical that you don't allow these things and these people to take your crown, because that's the design. So the psychosis and the understanding that everybody has, so the psychosis that the whole world is under. If you just look at today's, Drudge Report, where you see that federal spending smashes records. I'm just giving you this example. $3.3 trillion, $3.3 trillion in added deficit just this year. Now, that sounds like somebody would say a president that is on the left would do. Yes, all of this spending. There is no difference between left and right. There is no difference between Republican and Democrat, and not even independent at that stage. So everybody is in some robotic form, and somehow they're acting like there is some difference. But this always goes to the attributes, where I say, follow the attributes of the man. Follow the fruits, as Christ said. You will know them by their fruits. Well, if the fruit of the Democrat and the fruit of the Republican is the same, if what they produce is exactly the same, well, then you know who they are. They are not for you. They are for themselves. They are for that cabal. They are for that elite. They are for what the entire system is moving and converging upon. And this points to what Malia and I have been talking about, and who is behind this. The fake people that we won't mention so we don't get this flag, but the fake versions of a people that claim that they're somehow chosen. Well, if you actually read scripture and you pay attention to it, it's pretty remarkable that the prophets have told you exactly what is taking place ad nauseum, and you haven't listened. And it even says that I've sent the prophets, I've sent them, I've given them my words to tell you, and you do not hear, over and over. So I'm going to read to you, and this is Jeremiah 7. Get to here. This is the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, stand in the gate of the house of the Lord and proclaim this message. Hear the word of the Lord, all you people of Judah who enter through these gates to worship the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel. Now, we can question who this is, but let's just continue for a second. Correct your ways and your deeds, and I will allow you to live in this place. Do not trust in deceptive words, chanting, quote, this is the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. Now, it's amazing that it's literally quoting this, but this is something that I've heard preached numerous times, and never did they say that this is the temple of the Lord was the deceptive words. But when you read it now, you can clearly see, do not trust in deceptive words, chanting, this is the temple of the Lord. Now, what is being built right now in Israel? What is being established right now in Israel? The third temple. Something that goes against the very teachings of Christ, something that goes against what would be the mainstream understanding, not the mainstream understanding of Christianity, but the mainstream idea of what Christ taught. So when you actually understand, he was teaching the lack of sacrifice, for I desire mercy, not sacrifice. All of the prophets said, I do not desire, speaking of the Father, I do not desire your burnt offerings. I don't understand why you would think I want them, but they continue to. So it continues to speak of this, and I'm going to go to Luke. Now, this is probably the most important part. It says, Jesus, Yeshua, foretells of the destruction in Jerusalem. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then you know that its desolation has come near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let those who are inside the city depart, and let not those who are out in the country enter it. For these are the days of vengeance to fulfill what is written. Alas, for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days, for there will be great distress upon the earth and wrath against this people. For they will fall by the edge of the sword and led captive among all nations, and Jerusalem will be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles that it's speaking of? Well, as we've spoken of, these fake folks, the fake people that comes, and it says they will come from the north. Well, the north would be the Khazaria, or the Turkish area that we've discussed at length. So this is just to help you understand, when you see these things take place, you understand the time that we're in. Understanding, now this is exactly why Christ spoke about this often. He spoke about, do you see all of these things? Know that what I've told you is true. Know that what I've spoken is authentic. And when you see these things, don't let your heart be concerned. Don't be troubled. But know that everything that I've told you is true. So it becomes that confirmation, like I've said, over and over. We will reiterate here as often as possible where necessary. But right now we have armies, we have the Gentiles trampling Jerusalem. They say they're Jews, but they're not. They're Gentiles. This is the problem, that the vast majority of them are not. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all evil, because the fact of the matter is many of them don't even know this. In the same way that history has been scrubbed from your eyes, that history has been scrubbed from mainstream higher education. You can't go to a university today and get a truthful explanation of what took place here in North America. They'll still tell you that Columbus discovered this place. Yet there were 150 million people here that were here before he discovered it, that were annihilated as a result of him coming. And they were annihilated under the rule of, at the time, Christianity, thinking that they were the people of Cain. So we have more death and destruction that has been brought upon the people of the world everywhere. There is no such thing as genocide on this planet without a religion being behind it. And as Christ said, he wasn't bringing a religion. He was tearing the religions down, because religions themselves become a manifested product of mankind in order to control the people, because man is corruptible at all levels. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So once given power, they become a product of the enemy. Once given power as an organization over people, understand this, that in the Father, the only person you have power over, and the only person, more importantly, that you want power over, is yourself. So when the psychosis of people begins to demonstrate that they say, and here's one example, where this person, 107, is accused of pretending to be JFK Jr. He's not, and he's never said that, not through anything that I've read. But they say he is guilty because he allows people to believe it, as though he can somehow control what thousands of people think. He could even say he's not JFK Jr., and the conspiracy mind will say he is. Of course, he has to say that. There is no changing other people. For when you want to try to alter someone else, all you're doing is becoming a tool of the enemy every single time. You need to alter yourself. You need to want to change how you think, and through how you live, your fruits become a demonstration to those around you. And if they see that you're happy and you're abiding in that, then they will want what you have. Let them ask the question as to what it is that you have. Don't try to force that on anybody. Don't try to change their mind. Don't try to convince people of your truth. You never will. Ask them a question. Let them discover the truth. Turn that rock over, as we've said multiple times. I see that the room is growing now, almost 600 people here. So I'm glad that everybody is allowed to hear this today. And, you know, the funny thing is that when setting this up, it was just, I didn't intend to do anything today because my daughter is still here. We're doing lots of things, but for whatever reason, even if it was for one person, you know, when Malia and I have done a few messages where we just feel compelled that we need to say something. It might be for just one person, but yet it will fulfill a need for multiple people. So somebody, whoever is supposed to hear this message today, will. And Malia says their seeking will create a draw on your deposits. No need to seek it out. Yes. So this is what we spoke of. And if you haven't watched that video, watch the last video that Malia and I did about withdrawals, deposits and withdrawals. So that when you're granted something, within your spirit and somebody needs to withdraw on that, they'll come and ask, as ACIM says, A Course in Miracles states, is that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And this is where that comes from. And it's very, very true. And in fact, Malia and I are probably going to be getting more into A Course in Miracles. And I'd like for both her and I to be back on a show with David again, because he's just a wonderful spirit, a wonderful soul. And we're going to get more into A Course in Miracles, because I believe it's actually one place that you can find a lot. In fact, the majority of what we discuss here, you're going to find all of the source of that. And not telling you to abandon your Bible, but all it's going to do is enhance and reinforce everything that Christ taught. And just so anybody listening that wants to have a conversation, any pastor, anybody in a church, anybody that teaches the word, I'm always happy to have a very cordial discussion. There's never a debate, because there's no debating truth. Truth is what it is. It's unalterable. But we can have a discussion, and we can even have disagreements as to what something means. And that is a refining element in itself. So I invite anybody, email me at dbros@gmail.com. I don't care how big, I don't care how big your church is, I don't care how long you've studied, it doesn't matter. I would love to have that conversation. And every single time I actually invite somebody, or they say that they will, for whatever reason, they find an excuse to not come on the show. So it's not for the lack of me inviting people or the willingness to have them on. So I was going to open this up for questions on Zoom, but that's going to be the next show. So the next show I will have Zoom, where you can call in and ask questions. And I think that we probably will start up at some point in the near future, start up the radio show, because many people enjoyed that. It just allows you to call in by phone and have that conversation. So the Best Damn Podcast says, yes, it's obvious that they are shadow banning considerations. This is half the normal size of chat. Yeah, they definitely are shadow banning. There's no question. The 573 for this type of title actually isn't. If I had a very provocative title, we would have 800 or 900 people in here. But I'm not here to be provocative and get a large audience. The right folks, the people that hear that message in the title, very rarely will I ever try to, have those titles that says, you have to hear this. If I did, there would be a lot more people in here. I've watched it. I have all the analytics and pay very close attention to that. But yes, they do shadow ban. And just so you know, everybody, is that they are unsubscribing people on many, many channels. And I've received multiple notifications, including Malia herself, who, she went to my channel on her phone and said, wait a minute, I've been unsubscribed from Global Witness, which she obviously didn't do that unless she was really mad at me that day. But I highly doubt it. But the reality is that that people, that if they do unsubscribe, the odds of them actually finding the videos, unless they search specifically for Global Witness, is going to be very difficult, because they are shadow banning. They're not adding them to the recommendations anymore. Once you start speaking about these controversial subjects, they don't want you seen. So we pay close attention to that. I see Gorgeous Awesome is in the house, and we absolutely love your products. If anybody is not aware, Gorgeous Awesome on Etsy, they have incredible products that they make. So we've received a bunch of them. We just want to always be able to reach out and show the appreciation for the folks that are out there and that support us. And so Mark Gaston says, we are G. Yes, collectively, you are. You cannot separate yourself from the whole. You might act individually. I might pick this up, and I'm a single person picking this up, but the reality is my consciousness is connected to all of you. And that is what the body of Christ truly is. So yes, it's a correct statement. I appreciate that. So Namarodin says, hey, Derek, if you are the first Global Witness, who is the second? I don't know. That'll have to be determined. But I believe that all of you are witnesses, every single one of you. As far as if you're making reference to two witnesses, well, go back and watch some of my videos on two witnesses. There are multiple two witnesses. There is the God of this earth, and then there's the Father in heaven, two witnesses. There is the knowledge of that and the understanding of that created in people, and that becomes the two witnesses. There's the Old Testament and the New Testament. two witnesses. There's Enoch and Elijah in their testimonies. Those are two witnesses. There are multitudes, the masculine and the feminine, that the separation from Adam, the female coming from Adam, first being one, now becoming two separate people, creating the fall itself, is two witnesses. So the male and the female, myself and Malia, obviously in the way that we see things, we see the same things, but we see them from different angles, the masculine and the feminine, two witnesses. So that's how this functions. So always be looking for these themes, because we can't exactly live in a matrix and know that we live in a simulated system, so to speak, and then believe that things are random. They're just not. Try to get to some more of your questions. Calvin Beyond, Derek, do you have any thoughts on the first book of the Gospels of the Essenes? Yeah, I actually have a video. If you go back on that, the Gospel of Peace, which is Essene Gospel, I have a number of things. I could go into that deeper, but yes, I believe that they all contain, just like everything else that is written, that you have A Course in Miracles. People will say that that's not scriptural because it wasn't written 5,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. But yet, is there massive amounts of truth? There's probably more truth in A Course in Miracles than I'm almost read in everything else, because it's less impacted by man, in fact, than actually the scriptures are, because the scriptures for thousands of years have been manipulated by the powers that be. So being able to rightly divide those words within those scriptures and see the truths and the lies in them is quite difficult. So let's get to some other questions here. I saw a good question here and I'm just trying to go back to it. So Dory Grace said, dual witnesses. Yes, there's always two witnesses, always two witnesses. And the thing is recall, Christ said that, nothing is true unless there are two witnesses to it. So the reality is, in everything, there will always be two identifiable witnesses in everything. So look for that in your life. Look for the two witnesses in every single thing that you've discovered in truth. Now, that sounds very broad, but it's not. You're going to find those details. I mean, if people can, try to look into such details and listen with such intensity that they're trying to relate my voice to some other, guy talking on YouTube that doesn't show his face, by the way. If they can think that intently, then you can think that intently. Just don't try to confirm something that you believe. Try to allow what you find to confirm a truth. Because what we've done, what religion has done, is they've told you what to think and then hand you the Bible and say, now go find it. Once they've determined what it is and they told you that that is the truth, then you go back trying to confirm that truth. So you're going to see what you're intending to see in everything. This goes for everything in life. When the media tells you something, this is why you don't watch the media. Turn the news off. Turn it off. You can read a headline, but don't pay attention to the manipulation of the details of it. They're trying to make you see things a very specific way. Michelle Kraft said, maybe Adam came from Eve. I don't think it really matters. I think the fact that Eve and Adam are separate is our problem. So understanding that the masculine and the feminine has been broken, it means that no matter which side you're on, you're incomplete. And Malia and I will have a discussion about that, because we've talked about some of the things in feminism today and how it's actually really done a tremendous amount of harm for you understanding these things. So I think it's something that we will definitely be discussing in the future. And obviously when my daughter does end up leaving here, we'll be able to come to you guys more often. We have a lot of things that we want to discuss. We have, many times that we sit down, we write a bunch of notes. We just want to be able to have the time with tending to my mom and my daughter coming in, and also some other people. And there were some other medical emergencies or needs within my family directly. So we've been running around a lot and trying to get things done. Also the thumb drives. As you said, if you're just coming in now, I'm going to block the address so I don't expose this poor person. So this is Dennis Durbin. So you can see that these are the envelopes and there's a thumb drive in there. So those are coming out, and expect those. And just so you know, to handwrite all of these takes a little bit of time. And yes, that's my handwriting. Perhaps Adam, Edward Indigo says, perhaps Adam is finally waking up. Will Christ being the second Adam, or a revision or reincarnated Adam? That would be the case. So it's not that he's waking up. He already woke up. For anybody to say, we're waiting for Christ to come, look around. He's already here. Otherwise, what did he come for? Isn't all water so wayward? Love, love, word, way. Wow, that's quite the name. Isn't all water sacred and holy? Well, let me explain this to you as far as water goes. The amount of water on Earth has never changed since the beginning of time, right? Think of it as a completely enclosed fishbowl. The water evaporates, comes back, evaporates, comes back. The vast majority of your body is made up of water. So it is impossible for part of your body not to be that of the patriarchs, because if their bodies have gone back into the ground, their moisture has gone back in, then particles, parts per billion or parts per trillion at that point. So there is a part of you that has Moses, so to speak. There's a part of me in you and a part of you in me. It's impossible for us to get away from this fact. Water makes up everything. It's the source of everything. So Malia says, we've been ministering to many individuals privately as well. Yes, we have. That's also part of our calling. We're called to teach to many as well as individuals. We allow ourselves to be open to his agenda always. And, it's remarkable that our one-on-one conversations with people become so amazing. Some of the things that we learn in everything. And as I was talking with Malia the other day, I was just saying that, when you teach, you learn too. It's impossible for you to actually grasp the lesson that you're teaching and fully learn it until you've spoken it, because you've been given that. And the completion of what you've learned takes place during the conversation with someone else. It's really a beautiful thing to witness. And I've been witnessing that over a long period of time when I began speaking of these things, and separated myself from the worldly nature of the crazy corporate realm. So cosmic light, is it cosmic lighting? Sorry, that's very light in the way that they put your name up here. You woke me up. Now half the people I know want to kill us, and the other half think we're crazy, and they all hate us. What do we do now? Well, that's a good question. So if you're awake, look, here's the funny thing. If you want to ask me, I'm going to tell you, go listen to how Christ told you to proceed, because that's exactly what he did. He woke people up and he said, there are certain people, seeds that I've sown, certain people, how you react determines the soil that those seeds were sown on. Were they sown on the rocks? Were they plucked up? Were you freaked out about the persecutions, the people hating you? Do you forget your truth? Do you jump back into your worldly matrix world in the way that you think? Or do you try to refine that and allow your spirit to be one with Christ and to continue to operate? Being in the world and not of it is the goal. Separating yourself entirely, if you think that, quitting your job is going to help, well, I can't determine what's going to help you or not, but you still have to get by in this world. The difference is, think of it as kind of a secret agent, so to speak. You want to be in this world and not of it. It's not an easy task, and that's why there are few that find the narrow gate. That's why it's narrow, and few are those who find it. So do you believe that you're part of the few? Can you accomplish that? It requires a tremendous amount of self-discipline. And it isn't that myself and Malia are perfect by any means. Do we have our breakdowns? No question about it. Just so you know, this is a very difficult time time in the world. And the things that are impacting this psychosis on people, this walking dead that we have, and they are literally walking dead. They might seem alive because they can talk, but the reality is they think what they're told to think, and so they're robotic. They're consumerism at their best. They go about their ways selfishly, entirely. It's all about me, me, me. But the reality is they're me, me, me. They don't understand that they're fulfilling the we of the world. They're accomplishing and doing exactly what the world wants you to accomplish, becoming of one mind and of one accord, but for a very bad purpose. So you can see now the separation of the wheat from the chaff. There is a consciousness that understands that. There is a consciousness that sees this. There is a consciousness that can see the waves. Now, when it speaks of in scripture that people are freaking out because of the waves in the sea. Well, waves, I just spoke of water. How much of us is water? How much of this universe is water? How much of this earth is water? Most of it. So those waves, when I sit out here and I watch the water reflect, the light reflect off the water on the wall, it looks like these perfect waves, right? The same thing. Think of those waves as being energy, and think of those waves as being that order out of chaos that I showed you with the pool balls. And if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that. So these different frequencies have an impact on people. Those frequencies have a massive impact on people. The news that takes place and what you consume combined with those frequencies have also a negative impact on those people. Altering those frequencies is the goal. What 5G is. What do you think 5G is about? 5G isn't about making things more efficient to get to you. It's not like we can't already buy anything and do anything right now. Why do you need to speed this up? It has nothing to do with speed. It has to do with putting this everywhere. So every single thing, every insect, everything is impacted. Anything that lives by vibrational frequencies will be impacted. There will be nothing that is safe from it. Will it cause physical harm? No question about it. Will it cause mental stress? Yes. Will it cause new anxiety? Yes. Will it have an impact on your spiritual balance? Yes. How do you protect yourself from it? It's all within you. You're the powerful center. You are the temple. It's not a block wall building. You're the temple. Make sure that temple is right, and you can avoid all of this. Bill Gaines says, Derek, what do you say about those who are told to write? Well, many people have said to me that it says, don't write these things down, and that scripture says that. But the reality is that there are some ways and sometimes that things need to be written down. And I probably will be writing some things down because I do feel led to write. And I do feel led that to get these things. And what I want to do is to distribute them to people that I believe that are far more apt to understand the things that I speak of because of where I come from. But I want to get those into the prisons. And I'll need some of your help in order to do those. If you have a heart for those that are in prison, then you can definitely participate in that. But if you feel that you're being led to write, then write. I'm not going to tell you that it's wrong or that it's right, because that's all up to you and the Father. That's between you and the Father. I'm not here to make rules for you. So, girl with no name Spooner, everything I've been through in life is a blessing. Well, exactly. As many of you may recall when I've talked about, my awakening, I likened it to, it was a very painful experience. But I liken it to me trying to find that thing I've been searching for my entire life and couldn't find it. And then one day I slipped and fell down a mountain and loosened the rocks. And as I fell down that mountain, the rocks pounded me and I laid at the bottom of that mountain, finally in a thud and in a pool of my own blood with rocks on top of me. And I then, and in that minute, found what I was looking for my whole life. I was no longer upset about the rocks or the blood or the fall. I loved it. And this is why you must be willing to look at all the things that brought you here and not look back on them with disdain or despair. begin to appreciate that when you've arrived at the truth that you've arrived at, when you found Christ, when you have found this within yourself, everything that led you to get here was a requirement. If anything was altered, you wouldn't arrive. Those are critically important to think about. Shirley Graham says, hi, sweet soul, global witness, hugs and love to you. Hugs and love back to you. Fana Everything says, is this a metaphor or reality? Just like in everything, there's two witnesses. Both. Hold on, there was a great question about Malia here. I wanted to find that. It just popped out of the way. So try to find that. Gosh dang it, it just vanished. Well, I believe it was asking, hold on, let me see. Oh, it says message retracted. Well, I would have liked to have read it. Maybe you can repost it. So, Dory Grace, exactly. Jim, I'm grateful for the fall. Precisely. Tiddly Boshank says, Genesis 1 Adam equals earthling, male and female created he, them. Yes, he, them. Created he, them, male and female. One. Sounds like they were both male and female at the same time, then separated. That's exactly it. You can't get, you can't get away from the words, and it doesn't matter which version or which language you read that in. It says he created he created them. And that was before Eve. So he created them. If Adam was the first and the only at the time, well, then I don't know what them means, unless it means masculine and feminine in the same body. And there you have the balance. Denise Quillman says, old school learning lessons. Yes, sometimes it's required. So Samson 12:321, no question, the psyche of people has changed for the worse, not sure what is going on. Well, this is the whole thing. The enemy operates everywhere and in everything. And this is why, we always want to be able to put our finger on something and say, well, this is where it came from. The reality is it's coming from all over the place. It's coming from social media. It's coming from a cosmological system. It's coming from the change in frequencies as a result of that. It's coming as a result of the changes on this earth. This earth is changing as a result of the cosmological system. It's coming as a result of lots of things being released as a result of those things. So as scripture speaks of, it's the release of the locusts from the center of the earth, right? So are these things spiritually discerned or are they physically discerned? I believe that they are spiritually discerned at first, and then we will begin to see a physical manifestation of the things that we've experienced. This is why when you see them physically and you've already experienced them and seen them spiritually, you won't be terrified. But those that haven't known this, when it says, for they will die, the man's hearts were stopped from fear, that's because they weren't aware before it happened. So Tommy, big question, Tommy. Why does God need to exist, or why does he exist? That's a big question. You have to go back before we are here, right? So you cannot rationalize. It's kind of like us looking at ourselves within this 3D plane. This stone here is 3 dimensions. Does this stone have a 4th and a 5th dimension to it? It does. Physics has proven that this stone holds vibrations, holds frequencies, literally even holds part of your consciousness, that the rocks would cry out as Christ spoke of. How could the rocks cry out unless the rocks actually had something? He wasn't being simplistic. He was being truthful. That the earth is part of us. We came from the earth. We come from this stuff. We come from sand, right? The mud, which is stone in its physical form. So why does he exist? That's actually, I believe, not for us to figure out right now, because that's on a completely different plane. The only thing you need to figure out is, what do you do within this 3-dimensional plane? And more importantly, how do you escape it? How do you get out of here? Because killing yourself isn't the key. Killing yourself isn't the answer. That's not going to create an exit plan for you. That's only a temporary diversion. And if you know the things that I know, which maybe we'll talk about at a later date in more detail, but I would really hate to chance it, because I would really hate to come back as something less than I am now, or something that isn't as wake that I am now that could be further damaged. Trying to get to some of these other questions here. They go so quickly. I apologize for that. Believe Dory Grace says, saying you're not blocked. If your chat shows up here, you're not blocked. So anybody that thinks they're blocked, you're not. So you're in my memory by IP freely. That's quite the name too. It says the women are God's large army. I wouldn't actually discount that. I wouldn't say it's one gender or the other. I don't think anything in this physical form has anything to do with his army. One love renewed. Is it possible to have your twin flame within you? I believe that could be possible. If you look at ancient scriptures, you can see and even when you read Buddhist literature, you can see that that's essentially what Buddha was trying to accomplish. He was trying to be one with himself, which in order to be one with himself and be completely balanced, he had to merge the masculine and the feminine, so that could be the two flames, the twin flames within you. Okay, so Donna Wojtovich said, yes, Derek, I asked what Malia has changed your mind about in the scriptures. I don't necessarily know whether it's about changing my mind, because I don't determine things based on what I come up with. I see them in a certain way. So what Malia and I believe this is done in a dual circumstances, that I see how she sees it from her angle, and then I learn how my angle and how I see it combine to make a more confirmed truth. It becomes the two witnesses. So when she shows me how she sees it, I have to digest that. It might sound very different than what I believe at the time. But as I begin to contemplate that and meditate upon that and read the scripture again, it begins to take on a whole new form where I can see the two angles. It's like I've said, that she's describing this stone from this angle, and I'm describing it from this angle. Well, look at the detail in this rock. Are we describing two different rocks, or are we describing the same one? That's the key. So the key is to not have an opinion, be the passerby. And let's face it, that's just two sides of it. But two sides will be able to help you determine what a three-dimensional piece looks like. So in this 3D world, that might make sense. But if you want to surpass that and get to the next level, you're going to start to think from a completely different angle. What if somebody is describing this stone from the inside out when you can't even see the inside? Just questions to contemplate. To some more questions here. Tada says, how to meditate correctly. You know, again, it is not, we don't live in a one size fits all world, but that's what the world wants to make you think, because they don't want to work too hard. They don't want to have different versions of politics. They don't want to have different versions of a monetary system. But the reality is a monetary system that would work for you or for one state or town might not work for the other. But so they force people into this singular way of thinking. The same with religion, the same with people monetizing meditation and things like that. There is no one way to meditate. I can't tell you the proper way to meditate. The only thing I can do is tell you what true meditation creates within you. I can tell you what it creates in you. It creates that peace that passes all understanding. So in order for you to find that, you must try lots of different ways. Many people have just listening to music as meditation and meditating upon not the words of the music, but the vibrations of it. Many people find meditation in prayer. Many people find meditation in taking walks. Some people find meditation in working out. Some people find meditation in lots of different ways. There isn't a single way. I can just tell you, find what causes peace within you and do that as often as you're humanly possible, as often as humanly possible. And you'll find that the world wants to pull you away from that. That's where you fight to keep it. Girl with the name Spooner, is not our thoughts the womb? Yes, in one fashion it is. We create from here and we manifest externally. So no question that you give birth from thought. Robert McKenzie, how do we know we pray and worship the right spirit? Well, that's an important question. And I'm going to point you to the attributes, but keep in mind that praying and knowing that you're praying, and as far as worshiping, if you're worshiping anything or anyone external to you, then you're not in the temple. Remember, the temple was mobile. The temple is you, as Christ has said. The temple is not a church. Although you might experience, and Malia and I have spoken this, so go back and watch that video. We've spoken about this quite a bit. You might experience something in a church and think it's that building that causes that. It's not the building. It's the collective meditation, the collective prayer, the collective spirit of the people within that building at that time. You can go there the next Sunday and it's not going to be the same. So the same applies to you, that you are the temple. And so once you're in the temple, worshiping the Father, which is in you, and you're doing that from Christ within you, then you know that you're correct, and know that how they interact with you and how you feel within that, the attributes that it wants you to express, the attributes that it encourages you to express, become your fruit. So Lori Chavez says, empty yourself of every thought, every concept, everything. I agree. That is where meditation begins. Emptying yourself of everything and allowing new things to come. Now, that sounds easy. Believe me, I know it. I know it's not. It requires a quiet place. Go away. Get away from everything. Change your scenery. Change your setting. Find a place that you can just go and be nothing and think nothing and allow the Spirit to speak from within you. Let me see. Somebody asked, do you guys go through the chats at a later time? I do. I tend to try to read through the chats and the things that I missed, and so I can potentially cover those in another show. So Pete Caliph, 1983, very good statement. I appreciate this because this is probably something that many people feel. Says, Derek, ever since I found out that we are all a part of God, I don't know how to pray and who to pray to. I don't understand prayer anymore. Why? That's a great question, because I experienced the same thing. So, in fact, when I began to understand the truth, I became angry at the Bible, and then I had to come back to it and then recirculate around so I could read it and understand it in a different way. The same thing with prayer. I gave it up, and then my prayers became very different. Do I pray to the Father? Yes, I pray to the Father. Do I understand differently where I'm praying to and who I'm praying to? I'm not praying to something external anymore. It might be everywhere, but I know that the prayer takes place within me. So the only way you're going to get back to it is by practicing it, to feel it, to understand it. So put it into motion, begin walking. And just like anything else, you start walking on a path, it's bumpy, you don't like it, it's uncomfortable, then change the path. So I fully sympathize with that thought, but I can promise you that when you continue and you do practice and you begin walking it out, walking in the things that you've learned, when you begin actually walking in them, not talking about them, walking in them, being that person, living that thought, living that life, living the love that you speak of, actually being that love for others, the prayer will become very, very natural. And when it says pray without ceasing, that's what actually ends up taking place. You're in constant prayer, even now, always in prayer, never, ever ceasing. How can you be separated when the Father, when he is within you? So remember that every word that escapes your mouth is being heard. Let's see. Please hit that like button and the share sub if you haven't already. Kitten X says, please. Thank you. I thank you, Kitten X. Tracy and Bernice says, a oneness in thought. Precisely. Joe 5D responded, so I don't even have to respond to that. He's correct. April Michelle says, I've been talking to myself for years. So it's kind of the same thing, except you realize that you're not of yourself. You're not alone. Not one of you. Hey, good to see Hopi NG here. Loving the videos, Hopi. If you haven't checked out Hopi's videos, they're quite different than mine, but they're very unique and very insightful. I appreciate them a lot. Let me see. Curious questions. Psychedelic mushrooms have intrigued me as it appears, and this is from Galloway's take. It appears to me it could be possible that it could be a way for the creator to communicate. Do you have an opinion on them? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, for any of us or any man or any institution to look at a plant or a natural occurrence on this earth and say, that's evil, should have their head examined. The reality is our brains have been so tainted and so chemically induced ridiculousness. We have been reduced at levels that are staggering. The mere fact that you have receptors within your mind that only receive psilocybin, that you have receptors in your brain that only receive THC, tells me everything I need to know. Now, does that mean that I'm out there doing it? No. But does that mean that it can't open you up to those things? No question about it. Can that be abused and can that be distorted? No question about that either. Anybody that hears my voice and this other guy, they're doing entirely too many drugs. Right? When they can start to link me with somebody I've never even met and have no relationship whatsoever and think that I'm on some YouTube channel, yes, their psychedelic drugs are not healthy for them. What is healthy is you connecting spiritually within you. Again, not external things, not finding some other task that you're on. The only task that any of us have, the only task, the only responsibility, the only thing that is important is making sure that you're correct. You'll have a hard enough time keeping yourself in order, much less somebody else. Let me see. Nothing Stranger says, if I go into the 5D, fifth dimension, will my wife just disappear if she doesn't? Well, the fifth dimension isn't visible right now. Not to you, not in this 3D world. So if you completely entered that, no, she wouldn't see you. So think about where things vanish or things appear in the sky and then disappear. Breakdowns of dimensional frequencies. I believe personally that these are breakdowns of dimensional frequencies, and you're seeing it in the clouds. You're seeing things take place. The dimensions are breaking down, and many physicists will agree with me. Rick Kersey says, use them at a microdose. Speaking of psychedelics. Yes, just allowing your brain to have the food that it needs. And a perfect example of that is this, is that if I deprived you of vitamin C, you would develop something called scurvy because you need vitamin C. Your brain needs vitamin C to even think. So if I gave you 1,000 milligrams after you had vitamin C, I gave you 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, just a regular tablet that you take every day and you don't feel, you would feel like you had 20 hits of acid. So because you lack it, it creates a completely different understanding. If you were reduced down to 1% of your brain and then you opened up 20% of your brain, well, that would be quite startling. Let's see if I can get to some of your other questions. Here, let me see. Nothing strange. Go. Would your wife disappear? I can't get past your question. Do you want her to? Let's see. Catalin Fix says, I use cannabis oil for cancer, helps sleep. Yes, heard that quite often. And yes, I know that it does amazing things for cancer. Cypher 9 says, age of Aquarius. We certainly are in that age. That's no question about it. Tony Higginson says, what is the fourth dimension? I would say just look up and understand what dimensions are. When you understand that we only live in a 3-dimension, we're in a 3rd density. There is additional densities. There are additional dimensions that are very real. They can be tracked, they can be traced, but they can't necessarily be seen. And for our minds within this 3-dimensional world, sometimes that is incredibly difficult for you to understand and requires maybe some psychedelics to fully understand it. So if you haven't already, if you came in late, I was giving an update on Mama B support for her care in the future. That link for her support is in the description box below this video. Also, for people that have written me and asked me about the thumb drives, if you want to order the thumb drive, I've created a link. Order the Global Witness USB here. So when you do, make sure that you add your address into the PayPal link, because that's where I'm getting the addresses and then handwriting them in. So just keep in mind, I'm handwriting lots of these. So I appreciate that. And as I said, that contains all of the Global Witness videos. Should they ever be taken down from here, you have them all on that USB. You put them in your TV. If your TV has a USB link, they'll all play on your television set. If you have, a laptop or a computer, you just plug them into that, but you'll have all of those. So you can get that link there, or anybody that knows my mom and that has asked for a way to support her, that's where the Care for Mama B link. And Tracy and Vernese says, any idea on the date for the upcoming gathering? Well, I'm going to tell you right now on the calendar, it looks like that we're probably going to be doing it somewhere around, I would say, September, October, potentially around there, the end of September, beginning of October, just for weather and for ease of, and also not the summer months. So anybody that would be traveling here, it's cheaper. That we will have that gathering. And as I said, that won't just be for couples only. I think that people will get a lot from being able to sit with myself and Malia and discuss things that we've experienced and that we experience and that we talk about on a daily basis. But I think that it's going to be, different specific things. So different specific subjects throughout the days that we have it. It'll be like a conference. So probably 2, possibly 3 days. And, we'll have obviously meals and things and for people to attend to. And if you're going to stay in the hotel where we're at, where we have the conference, you'll be able to do that. I will be arranging for reduced cost rooms for, bulk rates for anyone coming in, and potentially even travel and flights getting a reduced rate for ministry purposes. I'll see if we can do that as well. But yes, we will have that fairly soon. I think that will be, that's not going to be a conspiracy gathering. It's going to be truly a place to come and help refine yourself and refine the spirit within. I'm not interested in continuing any additional pieces that we don't necessarily need to know about what is taking place in the world, other than the things that you need to see to identify the times that we're in. So then you can seriously grasp and understand the importance of how soon you need to reach inside and figure out what's going on. So the end of summer, yes, the end of this summer would be the closest dates. As soon as we have that set up, we will let you know. Sarah C. Derek, thoughts on Naughty Beaver's latest video? I haven't seen it yet, so once I see it, I will let you know. So how do we get physical address to send real currency? Joe S. says, how do we get a physical address to send real currency? I've failed to respond to several emails. I'm sorry, Joe, I haven't, it's not that I haven't tried to respond. I do try to respond. So the physical address, what I will do is I'm going to show you here, and you can pause this and just see. So the physical address is right there. 222 1/2 Montezuma Street, Prescott, Arizona, 86303. And that is care of Figgies. So you can send anything there to Figgies and just put it to my attention or to Global Witness attention, and we will get that and make sure that Mama B gets that. If you could just write a little note what the purpose of it is. If it's to support the ministry, then state that. If it's to support Mama B, state that. If it's to get a USB drive, then state that as well. Desert Rose says, Derek, a spiritual war is on strong. Your thoughts? Oh, there's no question about that. What you can't see, the war taking place, is you can see it manifest itself in people. You can see it manifest around people that are around you. If you are thinking separately, there is absolutely separation. If you are sanctified is separation for into the Spirit of the Father. So that sanctification takes place. Now you become separated from those in the world. They can sense it, they can feel it, and they will attack you. Todd's Closet says, Derek, you still don't use the P.O. Box. The P.O. Box we still have, but it's going to be going away. The mail has been forwarded right now. So you could probably still, for this moment, send it to the P.O. Box, but I'd suggest going back to the address that I just posted and sending to there. See, hello, family. Love you all. Kingdom of Truth. Good to see Kingdom of Truth. Love you, brother. Power to the kingdom. Yes, and Kingdom of Truth. Go look, for those that haven't, go watch his videos. He's awesome. Jennyside Briggs says, yes, it's like a gang. They hate us. Oh, of course. And that's why this, I've watched the maturity of everybody in the chat and of this group grow so much. And it's really been a beautiful thing to watch. The maturity in the spirit that everybody has grown in has been impressive. And it's visible to other people. Many people have commented on it. Rick Kersey, I appreciate that. Thanks for sending that. She definitely needs that as well. Right. So what do you think about Billy Meyer and what he talks about Emmanuel being the real Jesus? Thank you. Please reply. And that's from Paul. Now, Emmanuel being the real Jesus, Emmanuel just means, the name itself means God with us. So you could, whether they're speaking of a specific Emmanuel or whether you're Emmanuel, whether God with you, God in man, which is what Emmanuel means, El, the latter part of that name, God, in man, you, in, within, in man is God, in you is God. That's what Emmanuel means, meaning in you is Christ, being the real Jesus. Precisely. It's quite simple. This is not rocket science. The only one that'll tell you and try to make you think it is the organized religions. Tada says, are the UFOs here to take us up? What about the cloaked ships in the sky? Again, like I said, dimensional breakdowns, dimensional frequency breakdowns, things are taking place. I wouldn't be so looking forward to jumping on some spacecraft. Not right now. Wait a little while. You'll know the difference. Best Damn Podcast says, I'm praying for Mama Bros, Global Witness. I appreciate that. John, much love to you. God within us, yes. Desert Rose says, should we give mythology any credence? Why would you not give mythology any credence, but give a book credence? It's called mythology because they want you to think it's myth. But the reality is many of the myths of the past that we've been told are myths are being proven to be fact. So I would say that there's probably more truth in myths than there are in some of the most recent. You're probably going to get more truth from myths than you're going to get from a university right now. That's for sure. William Wilson says, Global Witness is the only channel that I follow on YouTube. If anyone else, it would be Jacob Israel. Jacob Israel's a really nice guy. He's sweet. And I appreciate that. And I'm humbled by that. Jen Moss says, love to you and Mama. Appreciate that. Bridget Williams says, hello, Derek. Your videos have been helping me a lot in my daily life. Your insight and wisdom resonate with my thoughts and my insights. Much love to you, brother. I appreciate that, Bridget, and I'm thankful that it's helpful. Shirley Graham says, love, forgiveness, kindness, share it, spread it, feel it. Couldn't agree more. And I think that's probably a good place to leave off. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to give this little message today. and be able to give you an update on Mama B. And as I said, to contribute to her care, because Medicare is not going to be covered, you can down in the Care for Mama B link below this. And she's going to need all the help she can get. She is doing wonderful, and she does send her love and her thanks to you. And those with the thumb drives, you want a thumb drive, that link is also down there. So other than that, we will, Malia and I will be coming back to you soon enough. And my youngest daughter is here. She says hello. She's been roaming around, and as adorable as she is. And so I appreciate all of you coming today. I wanted to say thank you and look for you again back here on time, be on time. Love you very much. And we'll see you back here on time very soon.